What's up? Welcome to today's video. Something a little different. We're doing a podcast today. It's called Let's Start Monday with Jill and Katie. They're going to be asking me a lot of questions and just going through what it's like working with a trainer, food, nutrition. I think this is something super cool. They don't record any videos yet, but I had the privilege to actually record this whole thing, upload it on YouTube. They've been allowing me to share this, so I'm super pumped about that. So stay tuned. We're going to cover so much in today's video, and you're going to learn a little bit more about me, diet, nutrition, my story, and maybe how this can help you down your journey.
Welcome back to the Let's Start Monday podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jillian.
And I'm Katie.
Katie's back. And today we have a super special guest, super excited about it. We got Frank Wall on the podcast.
What's up?
So Frank Wall is, I'm sure you have better credential names than what I'm going to say, but personal trainer. So I met Frank 14 years ago?
Yeah, 08, 09 maybe, 7-ish, 8-ish, yeah, ish, yeah, around there.
I know I was 19. So, and Frank was my first personal trainer, and I think I was at the beginning of your career too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You have a special place in my heart because, like, I mean, I had one other client who was like my first client, but you were the first person that said yes to me training when I presented something ever. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, she said yes. Like, all right, come on. I'm going to help her change her life.
Amazing. And you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I met Frank a long time ago, but he's obviously, skyrocketed in his career. So we asked him to also jump on the podcast, and he said yes, so we're excited about that. So yeah, Frank, just introduce yourself and tell us, what you do and whatever special things that I left out.
Yeah, well, my name's Frank Wall. I'm a personal trainer, nutrition coach. I create weekly online YouTube videos. I teach people, busy professionals, basically how to burn fat fast, eating tasty foods they love. I've been doing this, God, it feels like over 15 years professionally, maybe not certified, like a couple years before that. And I was a chubby, overweight kid growing up, out of shape, played soccer, ate a lot of pizza and buffets after the soccer games. So I struggled with my weight and nutrition when I was younger. And as I got older, I started getting frustrated with how I looked, and I wasn't sure if I was ever going to date anybody or have a girlfriend or a wife or anything. I was like, I got to get in shape. And so I kind of hit that. Fortunately, early on, I had a red flag. And then I was able to, lose over 50 pounds before I turned 17, which was huge for me. And that really changed, gave me a whole new trajectory on how I felt. I was very introvert, turned extrovert. Now I can't stop talking. It really changed my life. And so I do this full time, and I'm passionate about it. I love it. And I love actually creating a lot of online content. And when YouTube first came out in 2007, I really felt that was a catalyst, because that's kind of when I got into personal training too. And I felt I could have really used that to, help a ton more people get in shape, in addition to what I was doing one-on-one in person. So,
yeah. Well, so years ago, I definitely want to give the people some good content and share your knowledge, but I know we want to share stories too, because me and Katie worked out with you together at one time. So I started with you, and then a couple years down the road, Katie jumped in for a couple of years with us. So we got stories. I mean, all good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Must have been a challenge working with both of us at the same time.
Y'all are fun.
One thing about Frank that I remember is he's very patient, and he just has a positive attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times when I was pushing the sled in that green room at the factory, and I looked up at him. I said, Frank, I'm going to throw up. And I said, throw up's right here. And he just smiles, take a break, get some water. He's not this trainer that's going to grill you like a Marine,
They're out there. Yeah.
He's positive. He meets you where you are, and he challenges you. That's everything that you want in a trainer.
He doesn't let you slack, though.
No, he doesn't let you slack, but he meets you where you are. Yeah. If you say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I actually worked. I had bad balance, very poor balance, and he worked with me. I was jumping through tires. I was just thinking today, man, I was doing things back then that I'm just like, I don't know if I could do that now. But you started where we were, and you challenged us. And that's what a trainer, to me, should do. Yeah,
I mean, when I was younger, in my teens, I mean, I've always been a little bit thicker, too, or more overweight and whatever. I mean, obviously, I look back then, I'm like, oh, it's fine. But I was thicker, and I was never, like, super athletic. I was never into sports, so I just kind of deemed myself non-athletic, not capable, whatever. But when we first started working out, I mean, Frank showed me that, you know, I don't have to necessarily be, you know, into sports, but I'm built to be athletic. Like, everyone's built to be athletic. So, I mean, I went from not doing anything to, like, doing handstand at Frank. I was doing handstand push-ups.
Absolutely.
And 4-minute, 56-second plank one time.
Yeah, we were pushing the envelope. I do it with everybody. Brings out the best in you.
And so, yeah, I do remember it kind of opened my eyes to, like, you're capable of anything. Your body's, like... Yeah. You can really get there. So, yeah. So
I always looked forward to the workouts with Frank. I mean, sometimes I'd sit out the car in the factory, so I call him and tell him I'm sick. But I always went in, and at the end of it, I was glad that I did.
Yeah.
Because he's positive. Yeah. And he's gonna challenge you. Yeah. But not in a demeaning way. Yeah. I think that's
very patient. It's almost like you know what people are capable of. Because I think it's normal for everybody to, like, when you're in pain. But your mind is also like a liar a lot of the time. It's trying to save you from being in pain or whatever. And I think our bodies are capable of pushing a little bit harder.
Absolutely. Your mind is going to give out way before the body will. I always joke with people saying, like, if you're in a desert and you're 7 miles from water, you're either going to crawl and die or, like, you're going to keep going crawling and you're going to find water. And it's what I do is I can bring out the best in people and make them push beyond their limits. And then sometimes we hit failure, and that's part of it. Like in bodybuilding and building your body, you're hitting failure multiple times. That's what it's going to really chisel and craft and shape the muscles and get them to change, you know? Good nutrition, balanced hormones, sleep, hydration, and you're going to be on your way to a rocking body.
Yeah. Like us.
Like our current state.
That's all right. We're at. We haven't seen each other in so long.
I know we haven't seen each other
in
a few years. But Frank also too. It's like I started with him, and then you jumped on, and then we paused and went back. So, but Frank's like always been a staple in my life. Like if I needed anything, any advice or nutrition, I'm like, you know, I could text Frank, and he's been there. He's always been encouraging. And he's never, even though, you know, I've lost a lot of weight twice and then gained it, he's never crapped on me for that.
I never judge anybody.
Always been encouraging. So
I think one time when I came up to work out with him, I didn't really know anything about nutrition. I mean, and I think I had like Crystal Light in my bottle that I was drinking.
It's not the end of the world.
And he said something like, "Oh, you also opened me up to." I used to go to Quick Trip and get those vanilla cappuccinos.
Oh man, they're probably full of sugar. They weren't like sugar free.
I was like, I didn't know that anything was wrong with that.
Post workout would have been better, but
and he doesn't condemn you, but he teaches you. Like the Crystal Light, he said you might want to just get water or some kind of hydration thing, or what was that one thing that I don't remember? It was X something. It was. I mean, I'm not gonna because I don't remember.
Oh, Extend, BCAAs. I used to be all about that.
Yeah. It was the apple flavor, but
anyway,
so I switched to that. So
it's a little
he
better.
didn't demean me for drinking Crystal Light or whatever it was in there.
I remember that conversation though. He, you know, like I don't know why. I think you were frustrated. And he's like, okay, well, what are you actually eating? Like, tell me everything you're eating.
Well, I go get a French vanilla.
She's like, well, every day I stop at Quick Trip and I get one of the coffees. And he's like, well, what do you mean? What do you coffee?
Yeah, I said, you know,
because we don't get to where we are just drinking black coffee.
Yeah, he said, and he was just explained it to me.
I know, but he's like, no.
I'm like, what? Okay.
And then you were like, well, sometimes I have a handful of M&Ms at work. And he said,
sometimes.
How about trying just having one? And you were like, no.
Well, just today, I was working up at our business, and Renee works there. She's my best friend, and she makes brownies on Saturdays.
Oh, yummy.
So I had a tomato sandwich, unlike this. I know bread's not, but I did have.
You can still have some bread.
Ezekiel bread.
Yeah, there you go.
Tomato, mustard. Ate real good. Ate a banana for bread. I know there's no protein in there, but
yeah, what happened?
So I had like a row of brownies, and I said, I'm going to have to. There was brownie in my hair before I got here. And I
Just marching him on the way before the podcast. Like, let me get this down real quick.
I should have left this brownie in my ear. Yeah, so it's just...
We're really trying out here.
Yeah, just being honest, I thought it was funny. I had brownie crumbs in my hair before I got here.
Yeah. So, Frank, back when you were younger and you said you struggled with your weight and then you got into fitness, at what point did you realize, like, you had a passion to do this to help other people?
I would say probably in my early 20s, because I went to school for motorcycles, and my first couple years of college was just a waste. Like, I didn't even, like, my dad gave me an option, right? He was like, you're either going to the military or you're going to college. What do you want to do? I'm like, I'm still going to school because I don't want to go to the military. Like, my dad was in the Army, you know, Vietnam War and everything, and I just didn't want to do that. And that just wasn't my thing. I was like, I'm going to go to school, study a little bit, but, like, I didn't have an idea. Like, you know, I mean... You know, my dad wanted me to do well, but, you know, the path was either, like, school or no one, like, kind of really guided me. So I was like, all right, everybody's going to school. Like, I'll do this. But I didn't even really know what I wanted to study. All my friends were doing business marketing. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do business. And then I ended up, like, switching to, later general studies. And I just screwed around my first couple of years of college. Like, probably got a semester's and a half worth of work done. And I just wasn't into it. And but I was always like, you know, I got a motorcycle at like 18, and my one of my buddies, his dad had a motorcycle shop, and he had went to motorcycle school, and I was just telling him like, God, I'm going to college and it sucks, and I'm just not into it. And he's like, you should go to bike school. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe. And he's like, yeah, you can do a 2-year program in 1 year. I'm like, okay. So I did exactly that, did really well. The electrical stuff, that was the only part I did bad. I think I got like a C or something, and you know, wasn't into that. But like, I really liked it. And then, so yeah, I mean, at the time I was still like, you know, I'd worked out when I was 17 and exercised, and I was, you know, really into that. But shaping my way, I was going to motorcycle school. I was still working out, and then I was like thinking that was going to be my career path. I was like, I'm going to work on bikes for the rest of my life, and like I'm going to open up, you know, trying to think big picture. Like maybe I'll open up a motorcycle shop or something, and. You know, I was still working out, and I got into motorcycle road racing, exercising, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll be a world GP motocross or moto road racer. And then it was the day I was in Savannah doing a race, and this 13-year-old flies by me on I was racing a Suzuki SV650, and I was like, oh man, like this is not good. Like and the best I ever did, like in my career of amateur road racing, was like a 4th place finish. Almost had 3rd, but there was this guy at the shop, Ted. He did his. Did all of our body work. He passed me, and I was like, got 4th, and I was like, oh man, this probably isn't going to work out. And but during that time, I was always exercising, taking care of myself. I loved it, but it was soon from that's when like I was starting to make that transition, and really YouTube was kind of like a catalyst, because like, oh man, there's like, you know, people were telling me about video, and YouTube is the next big thing, and I was like, yeah, I could totally like motivate a lot of other people and reach them on a bigger scale and help them. So I kind of almost started with that. Still working at the bike shop, started creating YouTube videos. Actually, believe it or not, I used to be in this thing called MonaV. It was a like an MLM, but I was really passionate about it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the Brazilian acai superfood, get everybody drinking the joint juice, everybody's feeling great, and then, you know, it did well, but I didn't have any mentors and coaches, and I signed up over like 50 people getting into it, but I didn't have anybody in my other pipeline or whatever. But I was trying to build a YouTube channel revolved around that in the beginning. But then it slowly went to fitness, and I was always working out and exercising, and long story short, left the bike motorcycle shop industry and then got into fitness because I felt I could have really magnified that. I felt I could really, you know, like I said, help a lot of people, maybe have a gym and a studio like I'm doing now, have trainers with me, and I could just see the bigger picture easier. But now looking back, I was like, dang, I could have just been a motorcycle vlogger. Like everybody's like on YouTube doing something, you know, so could have done that, but I felt like fitness was easier for me. And that was part of it too. And also being in a gym, I remember working out at, I'm not going to name the gym, but I was working out at a gym. No, this is just some gym I was at. And there was a trainer that was trying to help somebody. And then he was talking to this cute girl, left the guy struggling, and I was doing some abs, and this other guy was there. And he's like, hey, man, aren't you going to help that guy? And it was like, oh, yeah. And he went back, and then the dude, you know, and I was like, man, I could do that, like, way better. And, you know, and then I was still trying to, like, figure out what I was going to do with my life. Like, I know I can't. I just didn't think I was going to be able to magnify the motorcycle road racing shop. And, you know, I did a lot with motorcycles, valve adjustments, forks. But when I got into the motors and a deep down, I was like, oh, man, like the cam chain and this and valve time. Oh, it was just like over my head. I always needed my boss's help. It's like, I don't think I can do this. And it's like, how am I going to do this by myself, you know? And but fitness, I felt like, oh, I could tackle it. You know, I've gotten in shape. I lost the weight. I used to be a fat, chubby kid. Like, if I could do it, anybody can do it, you know? And that's why I always felt like I had an edge as a trainer, because everybody wants to be in shape. And I was like the perfect prime example. Like, I mean, I was out of shape. And plus, I was active. I thought I was active. I skated all the time, rode my bike everywhere, but I ate like a horse. And so I was still like a just chubby kid. I guess I had some built legs, always had decent legs, but fat stomach, whatever, you know? So, yeah, so I just felt like, you know, through the transitioning of being in a motorcycle shop, YouTube, how could I magnify this, make it bigger, help more people, grand scale. I felt fitness like was the thing that I could really leverage and help more people, you know.
I think you chose the right path.
I think so, yeah. I'm decent at it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think like personal trainers, I think everybody's individual life probably has benefits to certain people, but for me, I always, like, I admired and it felt more comfortable with me that you had experienced what it felt like being overweight and then, you know, losing it, getting fit, and then, you know, you've always been honest with, you know, your mindset with food and struggle, but, you know, you're successful with it, but you're like, hey, I get it. So that's always, I don't know the word I'm trying to look for. Reassuring, more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's looking for something different, I guess, when they're getting a trainer, but that was nice. And now I know that, like, that's important for me if I'm working with somebody.
Yeah.
It's just kind of I think it's just like a different avenue of fitness.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a different story. It's like, you know, I relate with some people, like, you know, it's like I'm not the best trainer for everybody. I've had plenty of consults. I mean, I had my brother referred me a girl that came in. She worked at his marketing agency, and I tried to take her through the most basic workout: squat to row, knee push up, reverse crunch, you know. And it was just way too hard. Oh my god, this is hard. I can't do it. He's so intense. And I'm like, I was like trying to be like baby catering. And I tell everybody in my first few sessions, like, I try and make it super simple, easy, teach you about body weight. It's kind of my thing, foam rolling, mobility, and it was just too hard for it. And so, like, I don't jive with everybody. You know, there's some, like, there's trainers that I've met, firefighter or super endurance runner or martial artist. Like, everybody's got a different story. Someone connects with someone. But I felt like, you know, I've been out of shape. I got in shape. I've gotten fat again, gained weight, lost weight. I've done it a handful of times. Yeah. And I felt a lot of people are in my similar shoes. I felt like I could really relate with other people because everybody, generally, when they want a trainer, I think they want to get in better shape. They want to feel good, have more energy, and lose weight. And I've been there before, so I felt like it was easier for me to relate.
So, yeah, I mean, nobody in any business or industry is going to be for everybody, but that's kind of the beauty of it. But I think it's great. Yeah. He's got his puppy.
My dog Arlo is here, and he's gonna get all tangled up in these wires.
Cute,
hey, we gotta find. I know, little golden doodle. You gotta make your way into this video, didn't you? Okay, can you be cool? Just chill here. Is this okay?
What's this?
All right, I think we're good. You good? Stay here though. Don't go too crazy. Okay. All right.
Okay, so yeah, you made your way into fitness and coaching. So what do you think are the best, like, foundations for people beginning a health and fitness journey? We talked about this with Almina a couple weeks ago, but love to hear, you know, from your point of view, like, what do you think is the best way or tips for somebody who's like, I almost want to say like a beginning of a health journey, like somebody with minimal knowledge or experience with nutrition, somebody who has done maybe just basic movement. Like, what do you think is the most important thing for them to focus on?
I think in the beginning, I've shifted my philosophy over the years. Like, I've worked with all sorts of clients. Some have been, you know, overweight, out of shape, older. And especially, I think what's often neglected in these times is, like, nobody thinks about what's life like at 80 or 90. Like, you know, I've had clients at 75 that still work with me, 88. Unfortunately, like, I had one guy, Duke Newborn, really loved him to death. He hired me at like 84, turned 85. We worked together 3 years. Unfortunately, he passed away. But I would go to his lake house 3 days a week and help him move. And, you know, he just didn't have the best mobility. Now, he lived an awesome life, you know, entrepreneur, traveled the world. He got the most out of his life. But the last years, you know, he just didn't do as much, you know, and his mobility started to decline. And So anyways, I say all that because if I've found someone brand new, a lot of times I recommend them to take a beginner yoga class, right? Like I'll even push people away from like training with me. Like if it's the finances or whatever, we could talk about that. But like, if you just need something simple, like find a brand new beginner yoga class, because what that teaches you, and mainly because it was something I was been trying to do for like the past decade, was do yoga ever since, maybe 2010. And every year I do 1 or 2 classes to slip off because I'm getting older. My mobility needs to like keep getting better if I don't do anything. And, what yoga teaches you is how to get in tune with your body. And so if you could find a beginner class, because once you do one yoga class, it doesn't have to be hot yoga. I like it. You sweat like crazy. It's so hard, but it's fun. It's awesome, and it's good for you. But it really teaches you, like, what your limitations and your body are. Like, can I squat? Can I move? And so once you just take one class, beginner, you'll know, like, oh, my left glute doesn't fire this way, or my right arm is tight, or my neck doesn't bend that way. And so it teaches you how to really get in tune with your body. Because like when I work with a brand new client, our day one, we talk a little bit. I ask them about nutrition and training, their experience, medical conditions, any kind of injuries they may have had. And a lot of times I start a lot of people off on a foam roller. Depends. Sometimes it's dynamic warm-up on the turf. Katie, we've been on that green turf you love so much. But, I do a lot of mobility in our first few sessions. I tell them, like, at least these days, it's almost therapeutic. Now, years ago when I started training with y'all, we still probably did some sort of warm-up, body weight training, and eventually graduate to weights. We always started off on the turf a lot. I've always been a functional guy. When I first got in the best shape, I was doing a lot of body weight exercise and training and things like that. But yeah, to answer the question, really, I would say your foundation, like, probably take a yoga class. It's like super easy. You don't have to worry about confronting a trainer and getting pressured into the sales pitch, which you're there for a reason. Like you should, we should all work out, right? It should help you in some sort of way, shape, or form. But something non-invasive, like go take a free yoga class somewhere, and it's like those are super inexpensive to hiring a coach, and then and that at least trying to get your foot in the door, like knowing how your body is and moves. And then eventually, I do tell everybody, like, I went down this path because I wanted to get in the best shape and learn so much about my body. And so I had coaches and mentors early on. I hired coaches. I even hired an athletic trainer for a couple of years while I was coaching people just to get in even better shape and learn, because he was working with NFL athletes in the combine. I was like, and I was fortunate. I got to swim and run with them sometimes, and it was hard. But I was just able to push myself and learn a little bit more. But I feel everybody, like you guys did, like everybody should hire a trainer or invest in themselves for a couple years and learn as much as they can about fitness. Doesn't necessarily have to be an online coach. You can, but I think if you have the ability and you have someone that who's great, doesn't have to be the most expensive, but like a good trainer, like do it. Like spend a couple of your life, years of your life, learn everything you can about fitness, because then at least you always have it in your head. You can turn it on when you want to, We
definitely, just with form, your voice comes back in my head a lot, Are my heels flat, and my knees over
your butt out, chest out, shoulders back.
Yep. So that does, you retain that.
Yeah. And it's in your head, and then it's like, okay, I can go back to this. And if you've been there before, you can do it again. Like I said, even when I lost the 50 pounds and got in shape, and I think, when I got my first coach and I was in the business, it's like, oh, you need to, compete, do a show. I'm like, what? Like, no way. And it's like he flew me to Miami, made me compete. I was so scared, stepped on stage like half naked and like posing and doing all the fitness model shows. But it taught me so much about how to get in shape. I pushed through my limits, and it really taught me a lot. But the worst thing about that was that one of the greatest things that I get in great shape, I can learn more about nutrition and how to plan and program for people. The worst thing is, like, I still yo-yoed a lot. So, like, when I was, like, 183, 186, I went right back to 225 fat again. As a trainer, now, I worked out, so I could look okay in a T-shirt. But, like, if I took my shirt off, I was like, oh, my God, you're a trainer. And for me, like, being a trainer, I got to look the part, I feel, for the most part, at least be within 10 or 15 pounds.
All right, then take your shirt off now.
No, we can't do that.
That's a joke. It's a joke.
Not in a crazy best shape. But, I hold myself to high standards, but whatever. It's all whatever. But so like I would still like yo-yo back, and I got back up to 225 because I was out of shape before. Like I can get back again. I still have those fat cells. So like I felt, even for me, I'm not the typical, like, I always look like a photo cover model trainer. Like, I gotta work for it, you know. And plus, like, you know, my girlfriend's from Germany. We go there every year. Like, when I'm there, I'm having bread and beer every day, cheese. Like, I don't say no. And I did listen to a little bit of the girl that you had on, forgot her name.
Oh, Mina, yeah.
Yeah, but she mentioned she went to Europe. She gained like 33 pounds. And I'm like, I only go for 11 days. I on average, I gain a pound a day.
Yeah.
So like, I come back 11 pounds heavier. Now, the first week, 5 pounds is like fluff from bloating. And so 5 pounds comes off. But sometimes it takes me another 6 weeks to get the rest off. And that's just from a week. And I know what I'm doing. Like, but I enjoy myself. Like, hey, you want chocolate? Yes. Hey, you want a beer? Yeah, I'll have another one. Like, and that's not part of like my normal nutrition. So like my body just blows up, you know. So it's but yeah. Anyways, going back, competing, it's very vicious because you do so much to get in shape, and then it still took me almost a decade learning like how to balance that. Because after I did the show, I was like, okay, I'm not doing any cardio. I hate it, and I'm just gonna eat. You know, every trainer really likes to lift weights. Some of them like to do cardio more than others. I've never been the cardio bunny. I just like lifting and, you know, looking good, but I like eating more sometimes. So I was like, oh dang, and I gained the weight back, and it took me a while to find that balance. Yeah. So it's still tough, and you know, you gotta. It's like the devil's always inside saying like, eat, do whatever you want, and then the good person, the angel's like, no, be good. It's always a fight.
The battle of like, and
everybody goes through it. You know, it's
like what I've always struggled with is the whole like, everything in moderation, like you're good, everything in moderation.
You gotta know what moderation and intuitive eating is too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but I'll say, like, I still struggle with that. And, so as somebody who has struggled with their weight on and off for years, and then just trying to hear, you know, I know trends go through stuff, trends happen, and lately the past, you know, few years is like, what do they call it? Like anti-diet culture, and
oh man,
which is like some of it.
Can of worms right there.
Yeah.
To open up and talk about.
Some of it, like I get, but the whole like, and I'm not really speaking clearly. I understand intuitive eating, and yes, I think it's important to learn. Like I haven't really learned that from myself. But the only time I've done well and felt healthy and healed hormones and health issues and anything like that is when I'm almost like 100% just doing good. Yeah. Because like there's something I haven't corrected in my brain to where if I'm like, now if it's like a dark chocolate and strawberry, to me that's like, that's as far as I can go as far as like a moderation, right? Yeah. But like, just have a bag of M&Ms once a month, or it's like as soon as I go off that and I go to this conventional, whatever you want to call it, cheap food, fun food, whatever, it's like something triggers in my brain and then I'm off for 2 months. Yeah.
Well, you know, sugar is a drug, and you know, there's been studies, you know, maybe y'all can find a research or whatever, but it's like 8 times more addictive than cocaine and 5 times more likely to kill you. It's serious. And it's you know, I mean, there was so much with, you know, COVID and all these other things, but obesity is like one of the biggest like pandemics. It's you know, it's just not talked about. But like I said, it's hard to control that, and like it's easy because you can just kind of, you know, get off to the wayside and you're eating, and I've been there, you know, I've eaten a gallon of ice cream before, like actually threw it away and got it back out the trash can. It's fucking crazy, but y'all can bleep that out. No, yeah, my friends could attest to that. Like, dude, you're insane. But I mean, like, I don't know, I was just eating. So
I've had binge moments myself, and it's definitely like emotional. I know that. Like years ago when the last time I was at the smallest weight, like we were working on with you. It stopped for a while because I had fainted and busted my mouth, my teeth out, and but it was around that time. Well, I was gonna say, okay. Well, I was not in a healthy relationship. I'll say that. Yeah. And the particular person had a lot to say about what I was eating, and even though I was like 135 pounds at the time. Yeah. And I'm 218 right now. Yeah. So, like, I was tiny. Yeah. But I would leave his house, and on the way home here, I would stop at Kroger and get, like, dairy-free ice cream and gluten-free cookies. Yeah. And I'd go home and be like, you know, so that, like, triggered this thing of, like, when I would leave his place, then start binge eating.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily putting like that on him, but
Sure.
but I'm just saying, like, I figured then that like I was doing an emotional response of like, you know, and it's like if I say binge eating, I don't do that all the time, but I mean I can put down some food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can too. I mean that used to be my problem too. Like growing up, like. I mean, I've always loved food, you know, but like I was, you know, playing soccer as a kid, and afterwards, like my dad would, you know, take me to like a pizza buffet, Mr. Gatti's, and when I grew up in Louisiana, and I would just like stuff my face with pizza and just like eat, and then I always remember like if we went to like a Ryan's or now Golden Corral type place, I was like so excited because I would eat like the macaroni and cheese and get plates, and I would just eat, and I promise to God, like. I never left there without feeling like, oh, my stomach's going to explode. Like, it was just, I just ate so much plates, and I probably ate more as a kid or early teens and 20s than I do now. Like, as far as, like, because I still, like, you know, I mean, obviously, trainer lifestyle, eat healthy, maybe once every month or 6 weeks, blow it out. But, I mean, like, blowing it out, like, I don't even eat as much. I can't. Like, I'm just so much more full, easier, and like, you know, a lot of times during the work week for me, it's like I'm just eating because I need something. I'm not eating to like always be satisfied. So like, yeah, I eat chicken and green beans and avocados. Is it my favorite meal? No. Is it pretty decent? Yeah, I'll throw a little Tabasco in there. Like I get it down. It's good. It's decent. You know, it's just like, it's a job, you know? And, and then really like, is. You know, the other day I biked 16 miles and I only do a lot more cardio during the summer. It's just kind of my thing. It's warmer. I went mountain biking, of course, like the craving. I'm like, oh man, I want pizza. And so like, yeah, I ordered a large pizza, ate like 5 slices. I had a beer there. I was talking to the guy, and actually I met a guy who's into fitness and working out. So, you know, having a little pizza, met somebody who might want to work out with me. It's kind of cool. But anyway, like, yeah, and so I still have that, but it all balanced out because like a lot of times, anytime I do this excessive cardio or workout a lot, which happens with a lot of people, you get these cravings, right? Your body is burning a lot of calories and saying, hey, feed me, we're going to die. I mean, not really dying, but it wants more food.
Yeah, that's how my body feels.
So that, yeah. But that day, like, I got a lot of pizza and ate, but fortunately the next 2 days, I ended up using that to my advantage. So a lot of times when I think I'm eating a lot of food, okay, I'm going to use that. I'm going to work out harder. I train harder the next day. I biked the next 2 days, and I ended up dropping like 2 or 3 pounds, and it was the most that I'd, you know, lost a little bit over in the past, you know, couple months, but I was also being more active. But I knew, I made sure, like, okay, I had that pizza, and I hadn't had pizza in like a couple months, you know, so, okay, I'm not going to do it again for maybe another 6 weeks or so, because for me, as I set goals, and I want to be a little leaner and drop a little, and it's progress, but you do need to reward yourself, right? So, like, when I work with brand new clients, and I'm trying to, you know, get them to eat healthier, I'll say, hey, like, let's plan this out psychologically. If it's Saturday at noon, you insist your significant other, whoever, family, go have whatever you want, like, within moderation. Like, don't overdo it. But, yeah, if you want pizza or this and that, like, I'll try and get people to eat clean for 30 days. But I might say, like, hey, like, do it on your terms. If you want the sushi, you want the pizza, you want the 4 beers and this, have it. And then once you do, you're good. Cut it off, and then you're good for the next week. And as long as you plan that on your terms and you're on your own time, you're okay. But that's a muscle, and you got to develop that muscle. And it's a lot of work. And like I said, the demon's always inside. Like, you know, when I see food and stuff, it's like, yeah, I could always want to eat pizza or like burgers and fries. You know, my days as a kid, macaroni and meatloaf, my favorite meal growing up, pizza, burgers and fries, more ketchup than fry. Like, I love that stuff. And, you know, people say, man, that's, like, kind of sick what you're doing with that ketchup. I'm like, I'll drink it. Like, I mean, it's so bad. I mean, but it's all sugar, of course. Like, why do I like it? Because of sugar. You know, we all naturally will, like, eat a lot of sugar. Babies, kids, everybody. And it's ingrained in our culture. You know, it's just like, have sugar. Like, hey, have a Capri Sun, Sunny Delight. Yeah, and my parents would give me Sunny Delight when I was like a kid. Too. I hated it.
Sunny D.
I always wanted fresh orange juice. Like, give me fresh, because it tasted so good.
Yeah, but this is like the 90s.
Yeah, even in the 90s. I mean, I was born in Brazil and lived there for a year, but when I would go to Brazil, we'd have fresh juice, and we'd still have bread and eggs and stuff for breakfast. A lot of rice and beans, feijoada, big lunch, little baby dinner. But that's kind of how everybody stayed in better shape, you know. But we had fresh squeezed juice, and then my parents would buy this Sunny Delight, and it's poison. It literally is. I forgot the studies. Maybe I'm being over dramatic, but it's like 33 times the amount of sugar in like one of those juices versus like a fresh squeezed juice, as far as like how your body reacts to it. So
Probably kind of like that vanilla cappuccino.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, like I have one lady I trained, and she actually's from Romania, had a vegetable garden growing up, but her non-negotiable is like this chocolate macchiato, something 600 calories, has it from Starbucks every morning or 3 days a week when she goes to work, but she's got a little 2-pack. She eats vegetables, but that's her thing.
Hey.
So like like, you know, I gotta like find balances. Like if I did everything my way as a coach and trainer, I'd be broke. I wouldn't have a job because I've got to work with people. Like I've had some people like, no, I'm not doing that exercise, or no, I'm gonna have this, which is fine. We gotta compromise, you know. But like I think everything, like for her, it's in moderation. She's never been super overweight or anything like that, but she's built in 3 crazy 600 calorie high sugar macchiatos into her lifestyle, and it works because everything else around the day is pretty normal. She doesn't, you know, binge eat and stuff like that. For me, it's like I'm not a dessert or an M&M's ice cream kind of guy. Like I'd rather get it through food, like pizza, burgers, fries, and food that plus it'll help me have a good workout the next day. I mean, so like I think I like that also too. But
do you still like macaroni and cheese?
I do, but I don't like. So it's funny you asked that because every now and then I'll go to Whole Foods and they have like that buffet. I get like a sliver, just enough to like, oh man. But I never get a lot of it, and that's it. Because like when I was a kid, it was like half a plate mac and cheese, fried food. Second plate, quarter plate mac and cheese, a little bit more. Then third plate, pizza, sometimes cookies. Go back for more ice cream. Then maybe get another pizza. Like it was just retarded, like how much food I was eating. But no one taught me, you know. And I had to learn it all on my own. And fortunately, like, you know, I think everybody has red flags in their head when they should like act and do something like, oh, this is getting, you know, a little much. And I just had that at like 16, like how I was growing up and in school, and I needed to be in better shape. And, you know, I was made fun of and picked on when I was a kid, and I just didn't like the way that was heading. And so I just knew I had to change. So.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if someone is confused about nutrition, because there's so many things out there nowadays. There's a lot out there. There's keto, there's low carb, there's high carb, there's plant diet. Personally, I feel better on a plant based diet. I'm not a huge meat eater. Recently, I cut out dairy.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, reduces inflammation.
Yep. I'm inflamed. My number's crazy. It's 10. That number, whatever that number is, it's a 10. So, but just what would you recommend? Like I started on MyFitnessPal, so I'm actually seeing what I'm eating. I have a hard time getting in my protein. Yeah. My carbs and fat, I'm on it. But my protein, and I put a limit on my fat. It's like 38 grams a day, which is 20%.
Yeah.
But what would you recommend? Because I'm doing a study on myself. 3 months. I'm trying to get my A1C down. Okay. And it's going to be mostly plant based.
Yeah.
Just because I'm reading this book and that's what I'm trying to focus on. And at the end of it, the test will tell if it worked or not for me, because I really feel good on plants. But I'm doing a tablespoon of olive oil a day. So I include that. I count that. That's like 13 point something grams of fat. Yeah. It's really good olive oil. It's imported from Greece. But anyway, what would you recommend for someone to start? Because where do you start? Do you do a little bit of everything? If it's good, like if it's good fats, if it's good carbs. There are good carbs.
Oh, absolutely. You know? I try not to place restrictions on people. So I've had coaches. I hired I had a coach for, my first coach a couple of years, second coach 5 straight years. He wrote out my meal plans and workout plans. And for me, it was like Christmas when I got a plan with all this structure and macros and all this. I would follow it to a T, and I always experimented myself a lot. But I remember one of my clients one time when my stuff used to be over the top because, I got so many plans from my coach. And when I first got started training, he was a regional trainer for all the other trainers. And so I was a little bit newer to it. So I was like, hey, you can work out with me, but you need to get a meal plan from Coach Herb, my coach. And so he was the regional trainer, and he'd been doing it for 20 years, dietitian. So I would actually sign up everybody and make them get a meal plan. He would CC me on the email. We would sit in together, and I would listen to everything he would say and how he would teach people how to eat and everything like that. And that's where it taught me so much about nutrition and how to help people. But through that entire process of doing that taught me a lot more about food. But I remember like these plans, sometimes they would be big and huge. And one lady I gave this plan to, which I thought it was like a godsend to get this 28-page, all these recipes and meal plan and different training and this and that. And she freaked out and was like, this is so much. And it just like gave her like anxiety, you know? And I was like, huh. And she told me, she was like, listen, if you do this for more people, I know more people are like me. It just needs to be simple. Like, you know, eat broccoli 3 days a week, stuff like that. And it got me thinking too, because, you know, not everybody's like wired like a fitness competitor or an athlete. Like when you got to get into detail and tracking, I think that helps a lot. Well, tracking's good, right? Don't let me talk anything bad about that. Using MyFitnessPal, any kind of app, what gets measured gets improved. So it allows you to see what's coming in. And a lot of times, if you write down like, oh, I had cheesecake today. Oh, wow, that's 990 calories. Damn. You know, like you automatically start eating better. It doesn't even matter what plan you're doing, just by tracking it, right? But I find I don't try and place restrictions on people. I try and teach them about like food. Like I'll give them lists of food groups, like what you should be eating from, but don't restrict carbs. Don't, like, when you're first getting started, it's very complicated. So I want people to make healthier choices. And I give them the list of healthy choices. You could still have fruit. You could still have rice and potatoes and carbs and all these things, but let's just eat cleaner. And a lot of times, honestly, more than not, from like 15 years of doing this professionally, I find like people are okay. They can lose weight. They can get in better shape. Of course, we can fine tune. Like maybe some people travel a lot and they're busy. They want to do intermittent fasting. I personally don't do it. Sometimes I do when I am traveling because it's easier, but I let them do it. If they want to try keto and go down that kick, I'll support them and we'll do it. I have a cover model body program. It's intense. The first 2 weeks is kind of like a keto, but I never used to call it that because in 08, 09, that wasn't a thing. And when I first got started, I just called it fats and proteins.
Right.
Like we're going to have more fats and more proteins and reduce the carbs a little bit and carb cycle. So my shtick or whatever has always been carb cycling because that's what worked for me. Carbs are good, right? And ideally the holy grail in the lifestyle is living like having equal carbs and protein and moderate fats, right? And just having, your body feel, move, and look great. Now we can fine tune that through cycling our carbohydrates up and down. I always find that works the best, but there's a lot of different diets and plans, and I always have to find what works best for the person. But starting off is just think healthy. And obviously, if you don't know anything about food and nutrition, find a nutritionist or a trainer. You can even YouTube videos on mine. I have a YouTube channel. I post all that information for free.
Where's your YouTube channel?
Frank Wall Fitness.
Okay.
Frank Wall.
Yeah, Frank Wall Fitness. And then you could type in Frank Wall Fitness Diet and Nutrition. I have a 27-minute video. And it explains my top 10 diet and nutrition tips for beginners. It explains my philosophy on food, and it helps anybody get started. But even if it's not me, I say find somebody with a decent ideal nutrition. So at least you can kind of learn what healthy is. But if you think healthy, like, okay, a vegetable, a
whole
fruit.
Food.
Yeah,
Food.
If you think relatively healthy, you're not thinking like soda, pizza.
Right.
Like you just think like there's, what's a healthy food?
Yeah.
And most people can, if you just start doing that, like it puts you on a better track.
What's helped me, I'm pretty simple-minded, is anything without an ingredient list. So a tomato's a tomato. There's no ingredient list in a tomato.
Right.
So that kind of helps me.
Yeah, something that grows from the ground, like whatever God put on this earth.
I mean, if you're going to eat bread, make sure it's clean. Make sure there's very minimal. Make sure, for me, that it's sprouted. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know.
So can you explain what you mean by carb cycling? Because I think people are going to be
kind of confused. So when I say carb cycling, I relate to cycling days of higher carbohydrates or moderate carbohydrates to lower carbohydrates. And I find a lot of times in the beginning, like if someone does need to lose a lot of weight or is overweight, I tend to generally reduce higher carb foods that are maybe starchy or more complex, like potatoes and white rice and, maybe even sweet potatoes and bananas and high sugary fruit, just because of the fact, like, you're not exercising hard enough to benefit from all of those high carbohydrates. So you could still have them, at the end of the day, it is calories in, calories out. So as long as, you could have pizza if it's 800 calories and you have an egg and then you have your bagel. If the calories in and calories out equation, you're burning more than you're taking in, it still works. But I still like to give the people the foundation of, eating better food.
Nutrition,
it's better for your body.
I think that matters.
Yeah. And then especially, too, if you have inflammatory issues or dealing with stuff, holistic nutrition, which I know, Jill, you've gone down that path and you've had huge success with that. And, that's deep diving a little bit further. And it does matter, some people do have it easier, and if they want to program the pizza and have it all in there, but I've never really tried to teach people that because they ended up not able to hold to it. They don't learn anything, But going back to carb cycling, so there might be days where like, okay, I'm having, eggs, and maybe I have a stir-fried egg fried rice for breakfast with brown rice and eggs. Then I have an apple and a protein shake, sweet potato and salmon and Brussels sprouts. And then dinner is beans and chickpea pasta and I don't know, grilled chicken. And that would be like a high carb day. I'm just having carbs all day. That's like the perfect life to live because then you're not getting sugar cravings. So a lot of times during the winter times, I'm not worried about being lean or like going on a trip or something. So I eat a lot of carbs all the time so I don't get cravings because I got plenty of, sugars and carbs like that coming in. But sometimes with newer clients, if they do need to lose more weight, I might have a day of moderate carbs so they can still feel normal because sometimes the blood sugars can drop a little bit if you drop your carbs and go to a crazy low carb diet. So I don't do too much of that in the beginning. I want people to make healthier choices. Now, as we need to fine tune and are hitting a lot of plateau or struggling, then I might drop the carbs a little one day. Like, hey, have a vegetable omelet for breakfast. Have nuts for a snack. Have Brussels sprouts and chicken with avocado. Have a protein shake. Drink plenty of water. Dinner, salmon and arugula salad. It's not really a lot of carbs other than from the vegetables that day. That would be a low carb day. And I try and teach people about that. And usually for me, when I'm cycling it, then it's easier to kind of lose a little bit more fat because now it's like since there's not a lot of larger carbohydrates into the body, it's easier for the body to burn more fat for energy because they can start learning how to utilize fat when not a lot of carbohydrates are present. Typically, most people, like, they may wake up, they're not too hungry, or they get, like, I've watched people, I mean, I even hate to think of it, but, like, people that in a hospital environment are, like, a Coca-Cola and a bag of Cheetos and a taquito. I'm like, damn, like, quick trip at 6 a.m., you're doing that? Like, wow, that's crazy. And then, like, maybe sandwich for lunch or a Butterfinger, I don't know, and then dinner is whatever. But, like, there's so much carbohydrate stores built up in the body, their body never gets even to tap into fat stores. So people get defeated when they start working out because they're always ready and primed full of energy, but they're getting in better shape, but they think they're getting bigger in the beginning because of the fact, like, their body's not burning fat, but like they're building muscle, but fat never leaves the body. So they think like weightlifting is making me bulky. It's like, no, you're putting on muscle, but we're not burning any fat. Yeah. And so
that makes sense.
And that's why I feel like carb cycling has been great. It's always my last hidden formula to add in when I need to like really tone up or diet down for whatever, you know.
And I think that's a good option or whatever you want to say for a lot of people because especially people starting off, and then that way you don't get burned out with like trying to, I have to give up rice or I have to give up whatever the carb, right? All of them are great, but whatever somebody is like totally loves, right? So I think it's easier for people to stay on track and they can think, well, Saturday I get to have my gluten-free toast or whatever.
If there's too many restrictions, you can't stick with it. And that was like, coming from a competitor lifestyle and doing that back in the day and having lots of restrictions, and then after the show or the event was like woohoo, and then like boom, I'd blow up because I didn't have the moderation and the control. And I find with a lot of people, it's like you don't need the. I mean, I'll respect people if you want to try keto or live that lifestyle, it's fine. But I talk with a lot of people. I'm like, if you can't. For me, like a healthy, active lifestyle, like if I can't occasionally have a beer and pizza and be out and socialize, like what's the point? Like if I'm going to do something, can you ask yourself, can you do it for the rest of your life?
Rest of your life in all scenarios.
Yeah.
Basically.
And you got to have like, you want to feel normal, unless like you can, it depends on the person. Like if you're never going to work out and exercise and you don't care to, and you want to do keto, like you don't need all these extra carbohydrates because you're not doing anything with the energy if you're just walking and sitting. Like, a long time ago it was meant to get bedridden people who were stuck in bed out of the bed. So you give them that ketogenic diet that gets them out. And, maybe it's still a thing and around. I don't always follow it too much, but I do know some fitness influencers who were promoting it heavy and big because you can make a lot of money off of it when it's hot.
Right.
And they did it, and then there's stories and YouTube videos like, hey, I'm not doing it anymore, and this is why. I'm like, we'll go figure. But I was never on that train to begin with, and I don't care if I left thousands of dollars on the table. Yeah. I'm not like, here's my flag, I'm putting it in the ground, this is what I do, and I'm sticking with it because it's kind of what got me here. And so I've had my own struggles and, limitations with diet, nutrition, and weight loss, and me getting started early on and before keto was a thing, intermittent fasting, just learning how to eat better. Like if I wake up in the morning and I'm hungry, well, I drink my water. I have my little morning routine I do, and I'll eat. Sometimes like I might, during the summer times, like I might drink water. I might have a coffee with peanut butter and coconut oil and sometimes grass-fed butter, my own version of a bulletproof. Right. And I might not have a real lunch or a late breakfast till like 11 or 12. So sometimes it's intermittent fasting, but I might be doing a workout and then I'm not hungry that day. Your body kind of gives you signals and cues when you're hungry. Some days I don't eat till 11. Some days I eat at 6 a.m. and I'm starving. Depends on how hard the workout was the next day. What am I doing? If I'm going to do like a hard workout the next day, I'll intentionally have a lot of carbs the night before, the morning of, during the workout, and I feel amazing, but if I'm on a road trip for a few days, I will, maybe cut down, the amount of big carbs I'm having and do more vegetables and, little snacks and things just because I'm not going to be exerting so much energy.
So that's kind of cool because I'm trying to think of how to word this right now. Like there's kind of almost more to it than just, the basis is like you said, calories in, calories in movement, and then probably calorie deficit, and then it's nutrition, then it's like, whole foods versus not, and then like you said, so I think just being intentional about not even like how many calories am I getting, but like what have I done that day? What am I doing tomorrow?
Right.
And then working around that, like helping yourself benefit from what you're not doing or whatever. Like, you said, if I'm going on a super hike, then you could be like, okay, well, now's my time to kind of fill up on some more carbs or eat more food. Or if I got a road trip, so this is, I'm going to stay in, I'm going to eat a little bit more protein and fat, keep it simple so I could just stay, fuller for longer. Or, it's like being intentional. But I think the most important thing is like, why either learning about it for YouTube videos or now, social media, but really diving in and listening to what people have to say about nutrition and learning it for yourself so that you can utilize it and be like, okay, not just like, oh, did I eat a candy bar today or did I not? Does that make sense?
No, I totally know what you're saying, and
I think it's really awesome because the more that you do learn about food and nutrition and macros and movement, and all of that, you just use it as your daily tool of I don't know. I know for me, it's like a light bulb is going off in my head.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying.
Listening to you talk of you don't always have to be one way all the time.
It can be different.
This is how I eat. I eat this many calories. I don't eat that. Don't eat this. And you're like, hey, I know it's better, and then sometimes this is the avenue to go because this is what my body needs, or this is what my body doesn't need today.
Right. Food is energy. Food is medicine, and you learn as much as you can about nutrition, so you can use those tools to your advantage to plan and decide what and when you're going to eat based on the day and based on the time. No, I knew you were going with that. So depending on what you're doing, if you're going to go for a hard workout, you're going to have more calories. If I'm going on a hike, I'm going to have a little bit extra calories and maybe more higher carb snacks to get me through the hike and things like that. If I'm doing a little less activity that day, or I'm taking a few days off, maybe my carbs are going to be lower, or maybe I maintain them. But if you learn as much as you can about nutrition and try and have one source in the beginning, and that will help you learn as much as you can, have one source, one person you're following, that will allow you to make better decisions in the future.
There are a lot of voices out there. There's a lot of noise out there. So
there's a lot, and it's a lot of noise, and you've got to fine tune it.
Find somebody, find some resource. Like you said, if you do have the ability to financially find somebody, whatever that looks like for you, to give yourself 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is, to really learn, it is beyond beneficial. And I know I say that as somebody, I'm sitting here overweight still, but
I wouldn't worry about it. We haven't talked in so long, but this could be the catalyst.
Still, the thing is, we talk about all the time. I understand how I look. I get that, and I've got my struggles and blah blah blah. But the thing is, at the same time, it's I shouldn't have an excuse, but I have that knowledge from you, from Dr. Lawrence, from years. And so, it's beneficial, but sometimes I think I get way harder on myself because I do know all this stuff. So I don't have a lot of grace with myself when I do have a quote unquote cheat meal or, I am craving a pizza, so I just have it on a Saturday. It's mentally I don't give myself a lot of grace. It's never just, this is my Saturday thing, I'm fine. It's always, unfortunately, I'm being really vulnerable here. It's always this thing perfect. Of you're failing, this isn't good for you, this is poison, you're already overweight, all these things start following behind that. And so there's guilt with it. And, I never really feel just, it is what it is. I enjoyed it, and I'm moving on.
Right.
There's always there's guilt and I don't know, disappointment attached to it for me.
Well, I think, going down this journey, everybody's story and path is different. But, we can use this day to day as a catalyst. Think how much energy you put into, starting this podcast, getting everything arranged, scheduling the date. It takes a lot of planning and preparation to do this. Me filming all these YouTube videos every single week. It's like a second mortgage payment. But, it's fine. It's part of my business. It's what I do. I love it. I want to inspire more people. And just the amount of energy you put into this, it's at the end of the day, it's we need discipline and we just need to be consistent.
Right.
So, from this day going forward, we could talk about it, but, you put together a plan, you try and stick with it as best you can and follow through with it and then see what's working and is not working. The biggest advantage you have, and, y'all both have, is that access to you, mother and daughter, but you've learned a lot of this stuff. You just got to apply it. You've gone through the hardest things that most people don't have to go through. So I always feel like God will give his strongest warriors the biggest obstacles, right? And the hardest.
The obstacles, God.
I know we're done with the obstacles, but there is a path to something better through all of that. You've had to do the blood work, you've had to see the doctors. Some people are fortunate they don't have to do the blood work and the doctor. And I always push people nowadays to get your blood work done so you can figure out if there's any problems early on. But since you've gone through that, if you apply yourself and do it again, see the doctor, get the blood work done, stick with a path, come up with some routine, stick with it. You'll go there because you've done it before. Yeah. And we can do it again.
I just wanted to dial in on the carb cycling, because if I was listening to a podcast, a lot of times they don't get details so quickly.
Yeah.
How many days do you eat? And gram-wise, can you kind of just throw out a general, like in parentheses, sorry I hit that.
Yeah.
Like a general high carb. How many grams is a high carb? How many grams is a low carb? Just a general.
Yeah.
There's people like me that don't know, they're so confused, or maybe they don't know where to start.
It varies from person to person, and I have to be honest because, I don't... Now, yeah, I could give you a little quick answer real fast, but I never even, track that these days. I don't even know how much protein I'm taking in a day, even though I know I should be taking my body weight, but I always weigh it. Okay, I'm OCD. I weigh out every time I have a meal, I weigh out the protein. I just want to know what's coming in. Right. Sometimes if I only have 2 meals in a day, I eat a whole pound of grass-fed beef. Whatever. I have a arugula salad. Maybe it's a 1,000-calorie salad. But if I only get one more meal that day... I'll be lucky if it's another 1,000 calories, and if I get anything under 2,500, for me, my metabolism, weight, and training, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to lose weight.
Right.
So, I don't even really, track it. But, so that varies for everybody, because I found, when I did my first cover model body, and I did this big group plan, Jill did it, and I had a lot of other people with me, I realized, my low-carb day was too low. Because back in the day, I used to think, 50 or 100 grams, which is 50 grams is crazy low carbs. Brussels sprouts have 13 grams of carbs a serving, and broccoli has 5 to 7. I used to weigh everything out, macro it all, and know it all. So it's super easy. I ate too many carbs in my vegetables. But a super low day with 50, 100, that could be low. 50 for some people. For me, even having 150 could be low. High for me could be 400. 400 could be a cheat meal.
Right.
For some people, depending on their weight and age, 100 might be moderate, maybe 250 is moderate. So it really depends. But, I try not to get too concerned about the beginning. I think as you get further down the path, that's when it's more concerning about okay, maybe I should, moderate the amount of carbs that I have. But that comes from you tracking it. And so when I work with brand new people, I say, hey, do what you're normally doing, and then let's see what that is.
Okay.
So it can vary from person to person. So... maybe I find a low carb day could be anywhere from 50 to 150. And then it could range from moderate, could be 100 to 250, which 250 might be high for someone else. And then, a higher carbs for some bodybuilders, competitors could be 400, 500, 600.
So it just depends how.
But
let's say an older lady like me that, let's just say she works in an office, or he works in an office, he's sedentary. So I know it's hard for you to
I could kind of ballpark if I gave you a healthy day what that would look like. You know, so let's say if you had like a vegetable omelet in the morning with spinach and mushrooms and tomatoes, maybe we'll give you like 10 or 12 there as far as carbs, just having eggs. And then if you had lunch, let's say you had a bowl of brown rice, there's 40. So we got maybe 10 or 12 from vegetables, and I'm being generous if spinach and mushrooms all equal up to 10 or 12. 40 from a cup of brown rice, so we got 52. Say you have a large apple, there's another 30, small apple 20s. Let's say you had the large apple, so 50, 30, 80. And then we had, you know, like Brussels sprouts for dinner. I'm going to give you another 20. Say you had a lot of them. That's 100. And that seems like a pretty low day for me. So, like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. So 100 sounds pretty low, and you ate really healthy that day.
Right.
100 is low carb, but a lot of us in our heads like, oh, I got to do 20. That's low carb.
Yeah.
They come up with like made up terms. Like, you don't know. Like, you got to experiment and try, and everybody's different.
Tracking helps.
You know, you can have a set path, but a lot of times, what are you already eating? Try and figure that out. Let's see what that looks like, and then we adjust from there. And obviously it does help having some extra help in seeing and fine-tuning. But if you just start with, when I work with people, I start with what they're already doing, I adjust, and then we go from there and we switch gears.
So, it just depends on the person. You're giving, like, you know, like 100 seems low, but I had a question on that. I was thinking, because I know people are, would you suggest somebody starting to track, like, MyFitnessPal? It's kind of like an easy...
100%. Yeah, and then actually to answer your question, it's like, start tracking what you're doing and don't get too complicated with the carbs. I don't care. If you have brown rice and sweet potatoes every single day, like, just do it. Because more times than not, even if you're having a lot of carbs, which you think is a lot, every day, eating clean, you're going to get in better shape if you're making the right choices, drinking plenty of water, doing the basics, going for a walk. Like, just drink a lot of water, go for a walk, eat good, nutritious foods. Once a week on Saturday, maybe have something that you like, and then just don't think about it too much. And then go from there, and you're going to be okay. Don't worry too much about high carb, low carb days. Like, that's fine-tuning more, athletic, performance. Yeah.
It does raise, I think I worry. You know?
Yeah, you can get stressed out about this stuff. Can cause you lots of anxiety.
Oh,
I mean, it did me. You know, when I first got it started down this path, like I was the same thing. I would never eat a lot of carbs. When I first got wind of, like, you know, my coach, he was coaching other trainers on photo shoot plans and stuff, and I was looking at the last week, and I sneaked. I'm like, oh man, there's like no carbs, a lot of fats. Okay, so, I mean, I was crazy when I was working at a corporate club as a trainer. I'd have a bucket of peanut butter and coconut oil, another bucket of spinach and chicken. That's all I ate. And I was always lean, right? But I wasn't strong. I was feeling weak in my workouts, but it kept me lean. So I used to be afraid of eating carbs just like anybody else. I always thought they were bad. But I knew, like, fortunately, I learned early on, fats and proteins, a lot of fat, but not like keto where it's less protein, a lot of protein, decent amount of fat, moderate fat. Like, you can maintain a good physique. Now, the only downside is you're not going to have the strength and performance and the athleticism.
Right.
Like, I've never seen or heard of a lot of football players just having, like, an avocado and then just, like, go play football for 4 hours, you know?
So, again, that goes into, like, what are you doing?
What are you doing, right? If you're not doing that much, you're going for walks, you can keep your carbs relatively low, have low glycemic fruits, apples and bears, and or apples, bears, berries, pears, grapefruit, things like that. Lots of vegetables. You can keep your carbs low if you want, you know, omit the rice and potatoes, keep your protein, fairly moderate protein with every meal, and you'll do okay. You know, but I think if you want to go a little bit further, as you start exercising more, I think it's pretty normal to try and get your body weight in protein. Maybe if you don't work out, 0.7 grams per pound. If you do work out, a gram, maybe a little bit more if you're really athletic and training hard, 1.2, 1.3. But I try not to worry about too much. I just try and keep it basic. Have protein with every meal, and, you know, be sensible about it. Eat, nice portions. I think I can't remember the term exactly. Ichiban is something. It's a Japanese term that's like eat till you're 80%. Like yesterday, we had, like, you know, it's nothing crazy. Had these healthy little tacos. I forgot what. Maybe it's a cassava flour taco. Some of those, and I had like 3. I had some guac, and what else I have with it? Yeah, I did have a little sour cream. Had a water, and that was it. And then and I could have easily eaten like 6 more, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait, and I kept it cool. I drank a bottle of water. 10 minutes later, and then I was actually good. I was like, oh wow, but you got to get through that, right? Because the brain doesn't realize you're full till like 15 minutes later.
Yeah, you got to stop. Yeah,
and then you got to stop. So it's important to, like, have a plate of a normal, reasonable amount, not like a buffet, but portion a nice plate, like maybe a fistful of protein, or like a protein that fits in the palm of your hand, a fistful of vegetables, and 2 hands of vegetables. And start with that. You know, you can kind of keep it basic. I mean, everybody's kind of got a different thought process behind it, but keep it super simple. Track your food. If you want to see what's coming in, double handful of veggies, you know, like a little palm full of protein, maybe a fistful of carbs. And then, you know, you could still eat like that every day and be okay. And then when you want to fine tune, we can go further.
Yeah. But there's really no, I think a lot of us know that, and everyone's still looking for a secret.
Everybody's looking for the secret, but the secret is like eat healthy, put in the work.
Just do it.
And then, you know, as you get older, I think like get your hormones checked.
Yeah,
get your blood work, especially maybe even as early as 25. Like,
especially for females, I think.
Oh, totally.
I mean, I know for males, I'm not saying don't, but I know for females, there's hormones. You know, ours go in a cycle for a month. Men's recycle every day.
Yeah.
So a woman's hormone is just it's more complex, and yeah. So I mean, if you're struggling with weight and a bunch of other stuff, like
also
there's
magnesium.
Well, there's minerals and
that one lady
minerally deficient, and hormones. I mean, it goes beyond just. Unfortunately, it goes beyond just am I eating good or not, or moving. And sometimes, honestly, like you wouldn't think it, but when I was tracking and doing eating with Almina, I was actually under eating, which is
this is normal to do.
But I've ruined my metabolism because for years I've actually not been eating enough, and then whatever I'm eating is not enough protein.
Yeah,
right. It's not like the greatest macros or combination of food, but I'm not eating enough, so my body is just like. It's like stuck. Yeah,
and I think something easy is like because I still have clients that still struggle to eat protein, or they just don't. It's just not natural. But I'd rather you overeat on a lot of protein because it'll help you feel full.
Right.
And if you overeat on like just having more protein and load up on the vegetables, like you can still eat a good bit of food, and then it's an easier way of doing it. Because like I'd rather you have like sometimes I'll portion out 7 ounces of chicken, and then maybe it's Saturday night and I go back out and get another thing of chicken. I eat almost 3/4 of a pound of chicken. It's not going to make me like, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. And some days you are a little bit hungrier, but sometimes maybe your body's tricking you and you're thirsty. So there's that too. But sometimes I don't care if I'm really thirsty and I'm supposed to have water. I'm just going to get the extra chicken or whatever.
It's like thirsty, but like lacking the magnesium and potassium and all that stuff too. Like I know that I can tell now. I've learned. I'm like, I need to put some electrolytes in my water. Like
because if you're even drinking too much, well, I mean, most people aren't drinking enough water anyways. Right. But if you're drinking a lot, you're going to flush out a lot of that, and that's something I learned horribly. God, it felt like last year early. I was mountain biking with another trainer's clients, and they were like really good. And the biggest mistake is I just had a salad the night before, and they said we're going to take it easy. And I was just mountain biking for like an hour and 40 minutes. I think I had an omelet for breakfast. No carbohydrates, no salt, and my body didn't know that much about salt and the performance aspects of it. And my legs, we were going up Granny's Climb at 𝗘𝘀𝗶𝗹, this mountain bike hill. We did it twice, an hour and 40 minutes. My legs seized up. I fell off my bike. I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah. And then like, because I had no sodium in my body, had no minerals. Like I should have had the pizza that was suggested I should have had the night before, because I was going to burn it all off the next day. But like if you lack these minerals in your body, they can affect your training. And that was a mistake I made early on, because I was never having a lot of salt and I was keeping my carbs low. So A, I didn't have a lot of energy to keep going in my workout, and then B, I didn't know about the sodium. Like the best time to have some salt is actually before your workout, so you can feel a pump and you can actually feel your muscles contracting, and having that right mineral balance with electrolytes and all that's super important.
Do you want to spend a little bit of time just giving everybody your resources again? Because I want to make sure, I know you offer like a ton of free content.
Yeah.
And I know from experience that Frank Hall is awesome. So, and there are people who can. I tell you, like, I get that. I go in and out of financial, times, whatever. But there's people who want to work out at home. There's people who just financially can't make it happen to hire a trainer, join a gym, whatever the circumstances. But like literally, Frank has awesome videos free on YouTube, and some of them are even like short 10-minute, extra. Like start there.
Yeah,
they really are. I've done them, and you can modify it however you want, but they're great workouts and they're free, and you can just start with 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes a day.
You can subscribe, like, and share too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me, 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗏 Fitness on YouTube. That's like my baby. That's where I put a lot of information. I know as a content creator, I need to be like on LinkedIn, which I'm not, and TikTok I'm trying, and Instagram is kind of dead, but I use it to talk with people and communicate. I tried really hard, and back in the day, grew a big following. In 2019, I became a ghost just for a year. It was great. I didn't post anything and felt awesome, but obviously the algorithm, it just killed me, and so I don't get any traction on there, which is fine, but YouTube's always been great to me. I love it. I feel like it's my superpower if I have to put information. So I do a lot with YouTube. Lately, a lot more YouTube shorts, quick 1-minute exercises. But yeah, I put a lot of 10-minute workouts. I have 20-minute workouts, free beginner routines on there. But like I said, if you just type in 𝗀𝗀𝗀 diet and nutrition or 𝗀𝗀𝗀 body weight workout, you'll find a lot of stuff. And probably by the time this is out, I thought about it for a while. I'm actually going to put, I have a free beginner 16-week plan that utilizes all my videos on YouTube. You got to do a little deep diving. I put all the videos that you need to do, and it's for 2023.
That's awesome.
Yeah, or maybe 2022. I can't remember when it. Yeah, I think it's 2023. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I got to go back. 2022, 2023. Yeah, no, 2023. It's a 16-week plan, but it has all the videos. But what I'm going to do is I was working with a big corporation, big company, me and a bunch of trainers worldwide. The company ended up pulling the plug on and didn't put this out. But I have this whole program I've been sitting on, and I think by the time this is out, maybe it's already out, I'm going to have a full 30-day to 90-day guided course I'm going to put out for free. I was thinking about selling it and making money, but I'm like, you know what? I don't need, to make additional money online from selling courses to survive. Now, yeah, I will, and I'll have some harder courses in the future, but I have a lot of fun working with people that already have a baseline of fitness and can do a lot. And I really feel if you really want to, you can lose the first 50 to 100 pounds on your own. Like, it's super simple. You eat better, you go for walks, you move more, you drink a lot of water, eat good, you're going to lose the weight. And then when you need to fine tune, now you should maybe think about a macro or carb cycling and stuff like that, But I'm going to have that for free so you can follow a 30-day plan. I'm going to put the nutrition, everything down, the guided Google Doc. You can get the how you're supposed to eat. I actually have a video on TikTok. It's on Penned, so you can see my grocery shopping video that I'm using. I put it out in April or May. It was supposed to be for April, but it came out in May about what I'm eating to get in really great shape this summer. And so it's just kind of a 10-minute video on TikTok that you can check out, my diet and nutrition on YouTube. But I'm going to have all the workouts for a beginner. If you're brand new, you've never worked out, you can utilize these workouts. You could do them at home. They're beginner-friendly, body weight only. And if you're struggling with it, I treat all my subscribers on YouTube like a client of mine. So I spend a lot of time, sometimes very one-page answers of, hey, you asked this question, I'm going to answer it.
I don't doubt that.
And I do because, especially as a content creator, if I'm newer and I'm almost at 20K on YouTube, but I answer everybody. I talk with everybody, and then while I can right now, it's not like maybe I get 3 or 4 comments a day, which is good, so I answer all of them. I'm not like the guy that just ignores everything. So if you ask anything on my YouTube channel, I'm going to give you a pretty good answer, and if I don't, I have doctors and therapists and other people, practitioners that are better than me in what I do that can help.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's how I number one, it's I wanted to have you on because, we just kind of shoot the shit most of the time, and have some knowledge, but it's swirled around and then it's coming from BS, but expert knowledge from Frank, and I know that you love to help, and you don't just you don't fish for trying to give some people some advice.
Yeah, I'll give it all because if they want more, if they want, people want more, they'll want it. I think even sometimes trainers get scared of giving it all away. I've sent people to other trainers. I don't care. There's plenty enough food on the table for everybody to win. So a lot of times people have this hoarding mindset, no, it's my client, or I'm going to do all this myself. I'll have other clients go take group fitness classes, train with other trainers if they want. I've had people leave me and go to someone else because they're cheaper. It's cool. Maybe they do group fitness classes on top of that, and I'm cool with that because if someone wants to really work with me and learn with me, my business is doing good, I'm blessed, but I help as much as I can. I give a lot of information out there, and I think with any business, and you put a lot of free content out, you help a lot of people. If they want to learn more and do more, there's people that still work with me because they want it more than the free stuff.
Right. So. And that you may get somebody,
Yeah.
Somebody may see the video and work out and see success and like it and be like, you know what, kind of want to talk to him about doing more. So, I mean, that's my hope. If not, though, just benefit people from your knowledge and the free content that you give. I think that's awesome. So Frank Wall Fitness on YouTube. Is your TikTok? I don't remember. Is that Frank Wall Fitness?
Yeah, Frank Wall Fitness, and Instagram, Frank Wall Fitness.
Frank Wall Fitness. So go ahead and give him a follow on all those platforms so that when he does release those programs, I'm sure you'll post it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when he comes out with anything new, like, you'll be able to see it. So, we'll make an Instagram post on our Instagram, _start_Monday_podcast on Instagram. We'll let you know. I'll tag him, his Instagram again, and say his YouTube channel and all that. But just go give him a follow. Like, it's just going to benefit you to see what he releases. And yeah, so, all right, Frank. Oh, my God. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's been awesome. It's so great reconnecting with y'all, and appreciate y'all having me and allowing me to share my knowledge and experience and my my life and story a little bit with everybody.
Yeah, we'll have you back on again in the future.
Absolutely.
And dial in maybe on specific topics. If people want to leave comments, message us on the podcast or me on my personal, if you know me. And, if you have specific questions about fitness, nutrition, health, anything like that, we'll keep it locked up. We're going to have Elmina on again, and then, we'll have her answer, and we'll have Frank in the future again if he's willing to come
Bring
on.
us both on. We'll record it, and we'll talk together.
It'll
be super cool.
Elmina's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, definitely wanted to do that. All right, Frank, thanks so much for coming.
Not a problem.
Right.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, everybody. Let us know what you're starting Monday.
Yes, let us know.
Bye.
I keep on working, got purpose and worth. Music's my cure and this world is my purse. Get rid of this curse with every verse. Of course I've been hurt, but some have been much worse. Leave me alone, get out of my head. Block out the opinions until I am dead. They all go to sleep, but you listen instead. Listen some more and you'll cease to regret. I keep on working, I got it on track. You gonna see my name up on the flag. I sail the ship and I'll never come back. I keep this bitch on the line to attack. Never look back, I make a record like Crash. Top of my bracket I smash, I'm like a pack. I'm about to stack it like cash. It's gonna happen so fast.